Rewatching The Fast and the Furious for its 25th anniversary re-release in cinemas, it was painfully obvious that it's an almost scene-for-scene remake of Point Break. For starters, you've got a gang of criminals into an action sport. In Point Break, of course, it's surfing with a side of skydiving. In Fast and the Furious, it's street racing. In both movies, you have a young undercover cop hero, Keanu playing Johnny Utah, and Paul Walker's Brian, who both have to master these extreme sports to infiltrate the gang's ranks. The leader of said crooks in both movies is a classic warrior monk type. In Point Break, it's the late great Patrick Swayze as Bodhi, who offers such wisdoms as
fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true.
In Fast and the Furious, it's Vin Diesel as Dom Toretto and his iconic philosophy of living life.
Quarter mile at a time.
It's a line that has reverberated through pop culture for a quarter of a century. On top of all of that, you've also got impatient superiors demanding results from our hero, a member of the gang suspicious of the hero, police raids on the wrong crew, and a botched final heist. There's also a final confrontation with an epic wipeout. On the topic of wipeouts, Point Break became such a cult film because of that unforgettably poignant conclusion where Johnny Utah lets Bodhi surf the 50-year storm at Bell's Beach, knowing full well it'll be his doom. The only tragic thing about Dom pranging his ride and walking away from it at the end of Fast and the Furious was the destruction of the 1970 Dodge Charger RT, arguably the coolest car in the whole franchise. Now, this observation about Fast and the Furious is nothing new. We all thought it back in 2001 when it first came out a decade after Point Break. But previously, critics used it as a knock on the film for being derivative. Now, some 25 years on, and we should see it as a badge of honour, because it's an infinitely better pseudo-remake than the actual Point Break remake in 2015, which was hot garbage. The OG Fast and the Furious has aged very well, with the car racing scenes legitimately enthralling. And the scene where Dom realises Brian is a cop might be the best thing Vin Diesel has ever put on the screen. Back then, it would have been impossible to predict what this franchise would become, earning billions at the box office and improbably going to space. But its taut plot, basically summed up by "car go fast," should be appreciated in an era of bloated movies. The Fast and the Furious 25th Anniversary Edition gets 3.5 stars.